Hello. Welcome back to another Shit Happens session. And be nice to me. Just as I was going live, I realized I have something stuck on my tooth and it's refusing to come out. So be nice, okay? Keep your comments to yourself. Don't come for me in the comment section. Oh my God, this person I'm gonna be having a very heartful conversation with is my soul sister. I love this girl to death. And I'm so proud of her in what she's achieved in the last 2 weeks. And we're going to talk about that. So let me go ahead and bring on Shannon to the stage. Hey
Paula,
girl, hey. Welcome to Talk Shit with P.
I
I
love
mean,
talking
welcome
shit.
welcome to Shit Happens. Like I keep forgetting that this is Shit Happens, but it is part of Talk Shit with P. So either way, and yes, you do like talking shit, so you are right where you need to be.
I am because shit happens and I love talking about it. So it works. Shit happened to me. So yeah.
Shit happened to you, cause baby, you were misdiagnosed for several years. Like what the fuck?
Yeah. 12 years. I had symptoms from when I was 17. Went to my pediatrician. I said I have a stomach ache every day. I'm having blood in my stool. The water was like literally like red, like bright red water in the toilet. And he said, "Oh, you probably have an ulcer. Take some antacids." He actually said Zantac, which we know isn't good for us anyway now. But that was in 1999, and the symptoms just got worse and worse over the years. And then it got to the point where it was so persistent that I had to be like, there is definitely something wrong. Somebody is missing something. This is not just heavy periods. This isn't cysts. This isn't a bladder infection. This isn't hemorrhoids. This has got to be something. And yeah, it took I was in Jamaica doing my bachelor's at the time, and I'd go to the emergency room and get doped up on morphine for the pain. Not that I was a drug addict, but I would literally be doped up on morphine and go straight to class. And I don't know how I got through it. I finished my final year. I was actually admitted into the hospital when I had to do my final project for the end of school for my final year. And I did my final project while in the hospital. I was anemic, severely anemic. I was out of breath just walking a few steps. And I had a fever of 103. They wanted to do a blood transfusion in Jamaica, which is really risky anywhere, but especially there. And I said, "Why?" And they're like, "Oh, probably your heavy periods." And I'm like, "I'm eating healthier than ever. How could my heavy periods cause me to be this anemic where you want to do a blood transfusion, which is supposed to be a life-saving measure?" And they couldn't answer me. And I said, "If I'm anemic and I have a fever, then that tells me that I have an infection." And they were like, "Oh, you probably just picked up a bug in the hospital." So I got out of the hospital. My mom came to help me pin up my work. And, for the presentation, I didn't stay for the presentation. So my work just had to speak for itself. And I was like, I pray I pass so I can graduate. And I flew up to Miami for what was a 20 something opinion by then. I'd seen so many doctors in Jamaica, and came up here and didn't have insurance, and there were no appointments with the public clinic until like 6 months out, and no doctor would see me without insurance. And one day I felt my energy leaving my body. I can't really explain what I felt. It wasn't pain. I had pain before, like really bad pain where I felt like an alien was trying to rip its way out of me. This wasn't that. It wasn't pain. It was like I literally just felt like I was fading, like, yeah. And I went to my mom and I said, "Mom, I'm either going to have really high medical bills, which is what I was trying to avoid, or you're going to be paying for my funeral." And we went to the emergency room. That was Wednesday, June 17th. And they did an ultrasound, said I had cysts, and sent me home, didn't admit me. And then 2 days later, my mom came home from work, and my stomach was distended, not even bloated. It was like, she said I looked like a dead frog. You know how dead frogs, their stomach, yeah. She said like my stomach was like out there, just bloated and hard, and my skin was turning orange. And I was in such bad pain at this time that my eyes were just weeping and I couldn't even cry. I couldn't sob. My jaws were locked with the pain. And she said, "We're going back to the emergency room." And she said, "I don't care if they call the police on me. We are going to stay there until we get answers." And I went to that same hospital, a very small hospital here in Miami that's part of the public health system. They did a ultrasound again. I'd had like 20 ultrasounds done in the past like 2 years, saw no cysts. And so they said, "Let's do a CT." And when they did the CT, I had an abscess in my abdomen about this big and had 100 cc's of fluid in it, which is almost like a water bottle. And I had E. coli and 5 other bacteria in my bloodstream. I was in sepsis and my body was shutting down. Ended up in ICU, had to finally get the blood transfusion. I didn't have a choice. At that point, it was a life-saving measure. And I had 6 doctors on my case, and they were like, "Well, we want to do surgery." And I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "But we can't do surgery." And I'm like, "If you have 6 doctors who want to do surgery, why can't you do surgery?" And they're like, "Well, the surgeon doesn't want to do surgery." And I'm like, "Why doesn't the surgeon want to do surgery? Because surgeon makes money when you do surgery." So they said, the surgeon saw my chart, saw that I was a single 29-year-old female with no children, and he did not want me to end up with an ostomy. The surgery was very risky because of the fact that I had been in sepsis and I could bleed out on the table. So he decided that the best way looking out for me would be to treat the infection, get the inflammation down, and then do a colonoscopy, which is far less invasive, far less risky. But that infection kept on coming back every month over 4 months. And finally, the 4th time, he was just like, "We can't get you to the colonoscopy. You keep getting this infection. This is life threatening. We need to figure out what's going on." At this point, they were finally looking in the right area. They were saying it was probably diverticulitis, Crohn's, colitis. They were even looking to see if I had some kind of parasite. I mean, they were looking at everything under the sun. It was like an episode of House, how they were trying to like solve the problem. Like I really felt like I was in an episode of how many different doctors can one person have on their case right
At that
now?
point, you're like, "Can I have Dr. House?"
Well, all of my doctors were like having a Dr. House. They were so amazing. And they were funny and they really cared about me and they were invested and they really wanted to save my life and find out what the problem was. So I was really blessed at that point I finally had doctors who not only listened, but wanted to figure out what the F was going on when nobody could figure it out. And so at this point, he said, "We're gonna have to do surgery." So I went into surgery the night. He loved working overnight. That's why we're best friends. Cause I'm a night owl, as you know, I don't sleep. And he would come into my room at 2 o'clock in the morning and just flip the light on and be like, "What are you doing up?" And I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'm like, "Okay, dude has issues." So we went into my surgery Saturday night, because not Saturday night, but it was October 4th. That's when he does his best work. And what was supposed to be a 45-minute exploratory surgery ended up being over 10 hours of a life-saving surgery where he cut
You
me
were
open.
under for 10 hours?
I was under for at least 10 hours. Yeah. So he opened me up and he found cancer. Luckily, he didn't do it laparoscopic or I probably wouldn't be here. Um, he found cancer. He found colon cancer, stage 3C. When he opened me up, he thought it was stage 4 because I looked so bad inside. I was such a mess. He said my insides were falling apart like wet newspaper. When he would pick up my intestines, it would just he took a foot of my colon, and in that foot I had between 15 and 20 polyps at 29 as a perfectly healthy young woman. And he cleaned me up and he closed me up. And a week later, my mom asked the doctors to not tell me about my diagnosis until I was lucid. It took me a week to come out of all the pain meds because I was under severe pain, and all of the anesthesia, that fog. It took me a week to be lucid again and coherent and not be hallucinating. And finally, the first thing that I remember is I had my doctor sit down on my bed, put his hand on my knee, And he said, so, we did surgery. And I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And he was like, well, and he was taking a really long time to tell me what the F he had to tell me, Paula. Like, he was going so effing slow. I'm like, oh my God, I am effing dying.
You're
What
like,
is
just get with it. Like, what the fuck you gotta say?
like he's like, so we did surgery, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, well, we opened you up, and I'm like, yeah.
Like, isn't that something you need to do in order to do surgery? Open me up.
And then he was like, and then it was like, once he got to that point, it all went like fast after that. Like, he couldn't even get it out fast enough. And he was like, well, yeah, stage 3C adenocarcinoma of your colon, your T1M0 1, whatever. And then he was like, so I heard, he's like, so you basically have colon cancer. That's what adenocarcinoma of the colon is. I'm like, I understand that. And I'm like, calm. So he's looking at me like I'm weird, but I'm just like, I thought I was going out of my mind. Like, when you're in pain and you're sick and you're having diarrhea and constipation and you're throwing up and you're nauseous all the time and then you're tired all the time and doctors can't find out what's wrong with you,
You
you
think
start to
it's in
think,
your head. You think you're going crazy. So you're just excited that there's an answer. Finally, yeah.
yes. I was so relieved. I was like, well, at least now I know what the fuck I'm fighting. It's not some alien in my body that I think is there and nobody's seeing. You know what I mean? I'm like,
I
okay,
mean,
okay.
how cool would it have been if an alien was inside your body trying to take over of your body? You know, that would have been so
I mean,
dope.
but technically that's kind of what cancer is, right? I mean, when you really think about it, that kind of is what cancer is, just on a microscopic scale. That's how I looked at my cancer. Like, I was fighting this invisible alien in my body trying to kill me. And at least now I knew what the F I was dealing with. I knew I wasn't crazy. But here's the next part. He then said, because then I was like, okay, God, we got this. It's going to be one heck of a fight, but I know we're going to get through this. That was my thought. I was good. I was good. I was a little shocked, but I was good. And then he said, and you have an ostomy. And that's when my entire world fell apart because I did not know how I was going to deal with it. He wanted me to look at it, and he pulled up my gown for me to look at it. And I cried and I threw up.
Wait,
And
what
every
does that mean? You have a,
an
because I was,
ostomy.
yeah, because I don't know what the fuck it is, and I don't want to pretend like I do.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad that I can. A lot of people don't know, and there's a really big stigma about it, which is why I couldn't cope with it. And I wish that what we have now in social media existed in 2011, because now I see people living with it, younger than me, and they're fine. And if I had seen that then, I would have dealt better. But what actually happened to me was he cut. Your colon is shaped like an upside down U, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have what is ascending coming from your small intestine up to your transverse, which goes across horizontal. And then you have your descending, and then it curves like this and goes down to your rectum, right? So what happened to me was my cancer was actually in my descending colon, pretty close to my rectum. And if it was a rectal cancer diagnosis, my prognosis would have been a lot worse. So I'm blessed in that. So what he did was he actually removed my entire descending colon. And because of the fact that he didn't know if my margins were clear, and also the fact because I was so inflamed, he couldn't reattach me. He had to give me time for my colon to heal. So what then happens is they stitch close the end of my rectum, the top part of my rectum. They stitch that closed. They stapled that closed. And then that part of my colon that's coming, across, they pull that out through my abdomen. And so when they pull that out through my abdomen, they slit a slit. And so you literally have a little ending. It looks like your tongue. It literally looks like your tongue. It's called a colostomy. There's also an ileostomy, but that's where you poop through. So you stick a bag onto your stomach and you poop into that bag. So from your reaction, you can imagine how hard that was for me at 29.
So you would have a poop bag
I had a poop bag, yes.
attached to you.
I had a bag of shit. Yes, I had a bag of shit. And I actually, to help me, you're gonna love this part. I told you I love talking shit. You're gonna love this part. to help me cope with it, I decided to give it a name. And I had an ex-boyfriend at the time who I had really loved. We lived together. And his first name was Andrew, but I have a cousin named Andrew, so I didn't want to name my shit bag Andrew. So I gave it his middle name, and his middle name was Hassani. So I called my bag Hassani, and people would ask me why the name Hassani. That's such an unusual name, and I'm like, I named my bag of shit after a bag of shit.
Shout
That's how
out
I.
to Asani. So how long did you have the poop bag for?
I
The
had it
shit.
for almost a year and a half. I had it for almost a year and a half. My surgeon wanted it to be permanent, and it really affected my quality of life in a really bad way. And it made me not able to enjoy my life. It controlled every aspect of my life, from when I ate, when I showered. I had actually had a blowout. We call it a blowout when it blows up and like explodes with poop. I had a blowout in my sleep in my mom's friend's bed in New York on a road trip. I also had a blowout at a campaign rally for President Obama. I was literally 6 feet away from him. I was right next to the stage because I was a volunteer on his campaign, and I had a
You
blowout
shitted on
myself.
you shitted on Obama.
Well, almost. I shit myself in front of Obama. He just didn't know. Yeah. So I had to run out and leave. I had shit on my shirt, and I had to cover it up with some materials, some campaign materials, and leave and go
So
home.
out of curiosity, did your shit stink like when it blew up? Like how was the
It
smell?
smells it smells really, really bad when the bag leaks. It is awful. It is awful, and it is the hardest part of having an ostomy when that happens. Yeah. I mean, it's funny after it happens, but
But while you're going through it,
it's
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure it took you also a long time before you actually started laughing at that shit. Like, yo, damn, I actually really did have a poop bag. Like, you know?
I didn't laugh at it until I didn't have it anymore.
So, out of curiosity, because I know that can definitely affect your mental health. I mean, you're a pretty woman, and at 29, that's like the era time. Like, you're about to be
Yeah.
30. You're in that. So to have that, how was your mental health? How did it affect it? How did you get through it mentally?
I honestly struggled. My mom, thank God for my mom. She was my primary caregiver. And let's be honest, we love each other, but we have a lot of where sometimes you can't have two bulls in the same pen, right? We're both very stubborn. We're very strong headed. The things I love about my mom that also annoy me to heck, I have all those qualities, and same for her. So, we love each other, but we knock heads hard headed all the time, even now. But we love each other. I love my mom to death. I would do anything for her, and she has shown me that she would do anything for me. And cancer actually healed our relationship, as weird as it is. But I couldn't deal with the bag a lot of times. And so sometimes I would just walk up to her, or I would call her, and I'd be like, Mom, and she would just know what that meant. She knew it was time for a bag change, and she would come and she would do it for me because just didn't want to deal with it. Sometimes I dealt with it. It's so weird, Paula, because sometimes I deal with it like a champ. Like one time I went to a doctor's appointment, and it was full because you can't control it. It's not like your anus where you can hold your poop. When you have an ostomy, it just comes out naturally. So you eat, it goes through, you poop. So when I would go out with friends, I wouldn't eat because I didn't want to have my bag show or have to change it. It was rough. And real shit, it was rough. Shit was rough. And I remember she was amazed because here it is, I'm crying every night over having this shit and this bag of shit and going through this shit. And I told you I say shit a lot. And one day we go to a doctor's appointment, and I had breakfast on the way, and my bag had filled up, and I needed to change it because it was showing. And I didn't like when it showed. I didn't like people knowing that I had it. I didn't want to risk it blowing out because if it fills up too much, it's going to just come off, It's literally it's like just stuck to you with tape. It's like, it's not like It's yeah, so it can just fall off or if it gets wet or you get sweaty. It's really a tricky thing. And my I had to change it and I just pushed the car seat all the way back in the parking garage, take out my little kit with my extra bag and stuff, take off my bag, put it in a trash bag that I had in my little kit, stuck on the new one, and I said, "Okay, mom, we're ready to go." I wiped my hands with some wet wipes and some hand sanitizer, and I'm like, "We're good to go." And she looked at me and she's like, "Just last night I had to change your bag for you, and you're crying. You just handled it." But I had times when I would just push through, and then I had times when I just didn't want to deal, and it was just you never knew how it was gonna go. And yeah, it's basically what kind of some of the shit that I went through. So I finally got my bag reversed, my ostomy reversed in January of 2013. I was diagnosed October of 2011. I went through 12 rounds of rigorous chemo. It's called Folfox. It's really hard on your body. Each treatment was every other week, and each treatment was 3 days continuous. So I still have my little chemo port. I don't know if you can see it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so they would attach me to chemo on Wednesday. I'd go in 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. Actually, have to be there by 7:30. Start treatment at 8 o'clock. Be there until about 6, getting infusions. Then at 6, they would attach me to a pump on in my port again, and I would go home with that pump and then disconnect from that pump Friday afternoon. So 2.5 to 2 3/4 days on chemo straight, even while I was sleeping for every other week for 6 months. And I gained 60 pounds in my first 6 weeks of chemo, 70 pounds altogether. I'm still struggling to lose that weight. So the body dysmorphia is
But
real.
isn't that kind of amazing how you can wait? Because the idea of most cancer patients, they lose weight, right?
hmm it had a lot to do with the steroids because I gained weight and I was barely even eating. And then it also had to do with the fact that the only things that I tended to want to eat because I had no appetite was basically mashed potatoes and popcorn. So and I wasn't eating much of it, but yeah, the steroids tend to bloat you up and it can mess with your metabolism and all of that. So yeah, but I'm alive and I'm grateful
Amen.
for life, and I don't call it my extra time. I call it my gifted time. And the way that I look at that is what am I going to do with the gift that God gave me? How am I going to pay that gift forward?
And we are going to talk about that. But first, you have been cancer free for 12 years. Am I right?
You are
So,
right. And being safe,
congratulations for getting through that. I mean, for getting through poop bag, shit bag, and getting through that and coming on the other side and realizing that, yo, yes, life can be fucking tough, but there's other shit, right? So these little things don't bother you as much because if you can get through that, right? What
yeah.
is this little shit?
Like, I mean, I remember I was working when I first started working, after getting through that. I managed to get out of the hospital after 6 weeks in the hospital, almost dying. I had lost so much muscle mass, I had to relearn how to walk basically and do PT in the hospital, starting with a walker to regain my strength. And after being in the hospital for 6 weeks and about to be discharged, my surgeon said, not so fast there. I'm ready to sign the paper. I'm like, yo, I want to go home. And he's like, not so fast there. I'm like, okay, what's up? He's like, you've been out of breath and your heart rate is a little elevated. I want to run some tests. And he kept me for another 3 days, ran tests, every test under the sun, chest x-ray, chest ultrasound, CT, all of it, heart monitor, stress test. And turned out I had a pulmonary embolism. So I could have gone home and died, you know. But after I was finally released from the hospital that Tuesday, I had my first oncology visit that Thursday, flew out to Jamaica Friday evening, walked in my graduation Saturday morning, had a little brunch party Sunday, took my photos Monday morning, flew back to Miami Monday afternoon, and had my first chemo that Thursday.
Damn, girl. First of all, congrats for graduating because I remember you were kind of not sure, like, if you even be able to graduate since you didn't present your project, you let the project present
Right,
itself for you. So,
right.
like, that's incredible to be able to, excuse me, to go through all that and still do your finals and still make it for graduation. Like, you should be very proud of yourself, like, for being able to overcome all that bullshit of
I'm
life.
just stubborn as shit. My mom says I'm defiant, but that defiance got me through so much. And I
I
thought I
mean,
was
it's
gonna.
that Jamaican blood in you, you know?
It is. It's that Scotch pepper in my blood. No, I think what it was that I had almost died to get that piece of paper, and so what would be the point of getting it if I couldn't go and get it in person? And there was actually an empty space next to me at the end of the aisle because we thought I was going to need a wheelchair because I was so weak and I'd lost so much weight. And I was able to walk. I needed help. I had two classmates, one gentleman on each side of me. I was escorted up the aisle. I was able to walk across the stage on my own in heels this high because I said I was going to walk in heels. I wasn't going to just walk. I wanted some rock ass heels. And I walked across the stage, got my degree, and walked down and then had help back to my seat. But I did it. And then like that wasn't enough because I'm crazy. I when I did my ostomy reversal, I got out of the hospital, and 2 days later, with 60 staples still in my abdomen, I applied for my master's degree for architecture at Florida International University. I worked on my portfolio and my application while in the hospital after my surgery. Finished it up and went and dropped it off the final day on that Friday, and I got in to do my master's. And then crazy again, that summer before I was to start my master's, my friend Sean Johns, who I love, he got me the opportunity to work in England for 2 months with a design build firm that does luxury housing for people over there outside of London in Cobham. And I was ready to book my flight. I had just gone in for results from my scans, just routine. This is what, 2 years after my diagnosis at this point. 2013, I was diagnosed in 2011. So I knew there was still, I just read, Tala, this is how much I avoided statistics. I just researched the statistics for stage 3C colon cancer. With stage 3C colon cancer, you have a 70 to 80% chance of recurrence within the first 5 years. I just found that out because I didn't want to know that when I was going through it. And
Because
I
it would have fucked up with your mind and it would have even made you not fight as hard because you'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, my doctors told me I had a high chance of recurrence. They didn't tell me how much. But I mean, they could have told me numbers. Numbers are numbers, even if it's a 99% chance, somebody has to be that 1%. So I
Mm.
don't really pay statistics any mind anyway, which is important to know, right? Like if somebody says you have a 50-50 chance of living or dying, which is basically what I had, it's still pretty good chances. Somebody has to be in that 50 and somebody has to be in the other 50. And I've seen that, right? And numbers don't tell you what side of the numbers you're going to be on. They're just numbers. They're averages. So I applied for my master's. I'm there. I want to go to England to work. I'm waiting for the medical clearance from my doctor, expecting that my scans are going to be clear. They had always been clear. I did them every 3 months. They were always clear for 2 years. And she said to me, I'm ready to book the ticket. I literally found an $800 round trip flight, which is nothing. And she came in and she said, I'm sorry, you have to put your trip on hold. And I looked at her and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And my mom, like, it was like everybody held their breath in the room for a second, It was like time stopped for a second. And she said, you have spots on your liver that are suspicious for metastasis, which we knew I had a high chance for, right? Now I know how high. And she said, you need to cancel your trip. We need to do a biopsy right away. And I looked at my mom, and the doctor left the room so me and my mom could talk. And my mom didn't say anything. And I'm like, Mom, I'm going to call Sean Johns real quick. So I call my friend and I'm like, hey, Sean. He's like, what's up, girl? How's the doctor appointment going? I'm like, So about that, you're my friend, and so I want to know your input because I'm staying with you. And so if anything happens to me, you're going to be the one who's going to have to handle whatever's going on. And he was like, okay. And I'm like, they saw spots on my liver. They think it might be cancer. I still want to come, but I want your opinion. And you know what he said to me? This is why I love him and we're still friends. He said, girl, still come. Whatever you have is not going to kill you in 6 to 8 weeks. And my mom thought I was crazy. And, my doctor thought I was crazy. But here's my way of
I would have
thinking,
done the same shit. I would have been like, listen, this is a once
right?
in a lifetime opportunity. If I die over there, at least I got to experience it and I'm dying in London. If I come when if I'm not meant to die, I'll be back and we'll get into it. If I was been diagnosed for how many years and I still fucking made through the shit, I think I can survive 6 to 8 weeks.
Exactly. So I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I looked at my doctor and I said, Dr. Dewar, let me tell you something. Like my career and my dreams are the two things that cancer has not killed, and I refuse to let cancer take from me, right? And I said, if I don't go to London and I find out I have cancer, I'm going to be pissed. If I don't go to London and I find out I don't have cancer, I'm going to be even more pissed. And I said, if I go to London, come back and find out I don't have cancer, I'm going to be happy. And if I went to London and find out I have cancer, I'm going to be happy I went. So the only way that I'm going to be happy is if I go, right? Cancer or not, like you said, Paula, cancer or not,
Mm-hmm.
the only way I'm going to be
I'm
happy.
going.
Oh, so I went and I came back and I started my master's, still thinking that I might have stage 4 cancer. But my way of thinking of it was I don't have stage 4 until they tell me I have stage 4. So
So
I'm
what
going to just,
happened? Did you go get checked? Did you have it? Did you not?
so it took many biopsies, many tests. It took 5 years. I did not find out that I did not have cancer in my liver until 2018. It took 5 years.
So
Five
they were
years of me.
just so at least you went to London.
And I did my master's and I lived my life and I started my
Mm.
career and I lived my life. And that's I might not have been stage 4. I was stage 3C, but I understand people who have stage 4 just living their life because we don't have a choice. When you have cancer, no matter what stage, your life doesn't stop. Your life is on pause in a lot of ways, but you still have to find ways to enjoy it. You still have to find ways to do things you'd never have done before. You still have to find ways to explore and be adventurous and try new things, and you have to find ways to still have dreams and goals and to achieve them. You can't, especially being young, you can't just say, I have cancer, F it, I'm not going to live anymore. You have to find ways to live despite going through treatment, despite going through tests, despite not knowing if you have stage 4 or not. Like for me, being 12,
Despite the statistics.
right, like for me, I no longer have a high chance of recurrence, right? Because I'm 12 years out. So my original cancer coming back, that's a very low chance of that. However, I still have a high chance of having a new primary cancer in my colon because I do a colonoscopy every year because it's preventative. And I push everyone to do a colonoscopy. Please, I know, and we have to have this conversation another time, probably during March for awareness. But our population, our community, we are not getting colonoscopies because of the stigma. We're afraid to talk about shit. We're scared to talk about rectums, about anuses, about colons, about all of that. We don't want to have a camera stuck up our butt, especially Black men. But we Black men and Black women are the ones dying from this the most, and we're not getting screened for it, and it's preventative. Like, just do a
Mm.
fucking colonoscopy and just save your own life. You know what I mean? If you're
Mm.
alive, you need to do a colonoscopy. And if you have any symptoms or family history, you need to do it earlier, no matter your age. I was 17 when I had symptoms. Probably if that doctor had done a colonoscopy then, it probably would have been either a really large polyp or stage 0 or stage 1. I wouldn't have had to go through all the shit I went through. I don't wish that shit on my worst enemy. So just do it, and I do a colonoscopy every year. I am so badass because I've done at least 12 colonoscopies now, Paula. I did my last colonoscopy prep on a plane. So the preps are not that bad. And I was not in the bathroom the entire time. I went to the bathroom one time while on the plane. So there's no excuse. And they can reach out to me if they have any questions or anything. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because the only people who can save our people is our people,
Amen. And
and
speaking
yeah, go ahead.
and speaking of that, before the time goes out, because if you all know, Shannon can talk, and she's used to doing her lives for 3 hours, but I'm trying to keep mine under 1 hour, because God forbid she takes me past 1 hour, because she
Now I've
can.
said a lot. I said a lot in a half hour. I think we've gotten
I
really.
know. I'm so proud of you. Like I think I'm training you right now for your next one, so you can do better. But
I'm better as a guest than a host.
which is some real shit, There's difference between being a host and being a guest,
Yeah,
So as of last Friday, you're 2 weeks in. You launched your new baby, and what a beautiful launch that was. And
thank
I
you.
I think what gravitated me to you when I met you last year, and what has gravitated us throughout this is both of us in our podcast. We wanted to well, my podcast and your live stream. We wanted to create a place, a safe a safe space for people to talk about their shit. We,
Yeah,
we might have faced it differently, but it kind of means the same, Um, and you have done that by launching your live stream last week, Blue Coach Chat. So let the people know a little bit about that, and share a little bit about your launch, because that was a special launch, and I know we might cry a bit, but
let's see if I can get through this. When I was diagnosed, social media was not really existent. You would see blogs, you would see little, threads. You might have chat rooms, AOL, MSN Messenger, things like that. It wasn't this. It was High Five. Remember High Five?
oh my God,
And like
yes.
face, but it wasn't this, right? It wasn't what we have now. And so when I was diagnosed as a 29-year-old who loved computers and was always on the internet, I couldn't find anybody like me. So I happened to find one young lady. She was my guest last night for my second episode, Grace. I came across her blog, and her blog changed me because it was like she was diagnosed at 37. I was 29. She was a few years out, and she shared her entire journey. And so I finally was like, okay, now I kind of know what to expect, and I know I'm not alone. Then 2 years after my diagnosis, I went to a conference for colon cancer. It happened to be in Miami. That's where I met Grace in person. It was just a weird fluke that we met again at a table, and I recognized her. And then I met this wonderful gentleman, Lee Silverstein. And Lee, the first time I met him, Paula, you only need to meet Lee once for him to impact your life forever. I met him once that time. I met him again and again and again, and we became friends. Um, Lee told me that I needed to know that I had a voice and I had a story that I needed to share. I didn't understand what he meant then, but over the years it became, Shannon, you should have a podcast. And then it became, you know what? I need to do a YouTube because we need to be seen. You can't represent through your voice. And for colon cancer and the fact that I'm trying to get the word out that we people of African descent are at a higher propensity for having this disease, people have to see I look like them. I also feel that people have to feel me and know me and see me crying and see me emotional and see me smiling and see me laughing and get to know me, right? Because I'm pretty authentic. Like Paula, you and I are the same because we're just real. Like what you see on camera is what you see in person. You know what I'm saying? It's no different. So I just said I want to be authentic. I want to just just be me. And that's who I became on social media. And then Lee has always been encouraging me for 8 years to get into this platform. And finally, he was always telling me about Podfest, and I never went. He's always touting Podfest and his Podfest spam. Never went to Podfest. And I live 3 hours away. But last year, Lee got me a scholarship for a free ticket. And he said, "You have a free ticket. Now, what is your excuse? I expect to see you because I will be there and I'm having a recurrence." And so I went not only because he gave me a free ticket, but because he was going to be there. I really went more to see Lee than anything. I didn't know what to expect for Podfest. And I've actually had the Blue Couch Chat channel. I think I reserved it in 2021, Paula. Never did anything with it really. And I just kept on planning how I want my set. I want it to look like a talk show. I want it to be special, all of this. And
You were delaying yourself with all this perfectionist shit.
I was all this fucking perfectionist shit. And I like I decided that when I saw Lee, I found out Lee was in hospice in January, and I'm like, I really need to make this shit happen. And then I saw him at Podfest, and I made the promise to him because years ago I said, when I do this shit, I want you to be my first guest because you're the whole reason why the shit happened, right? The good shit happened. So he was supposed to be my first guest. And when I saw him in Orlando, and I realized, girl, you can't put this off anymore, or you won't be able to ever have Lee see what he's made happen. You won't be able to have Lee as your guest. You won't be able to tell Lee how he's influenced you. Because of Lee, I went to Podfest. I met my friend Tim. I ended up being now a co-host on Tim's show on Wednesdays. That let me wet my feet and feel like this is my happy place. I enjoy this, although I get anxious about it because I'm shy somewhat inside.
I don't know about that, y'all. I haven't seen that shy part, so.
Oh, you think I'm talking bullshit here? I'm bullshitting here.
She shit talking for real, for real.
I do have social anxiety. And then when I get out in the space, then I'm like a total extrovert. But to actually get there, I have this anxiety. And even coming on camera, I have anxiety and I have to breathe through it. And then I'm okay once I'm on camera. It's just this weird thing. Nothing in my life makes sense. But I started Blue Couch Chat, and I made the commitment, the hard commitment at Podfest during the gratitude ceremony that I was going to start it within a week, and I was going to have Lee as my guest. And then I told Chris that I wanted it to be a celebration of Lee and having guests on to say how they felt, and I'd be honored if Chris would be on it. And Chris was my first, like, yes, let's do it. He was like, that is beautiful. I love it. You tell me the time and the date, and I will be there. I will make sure that I am available. And when Chris said that, I was like, okay, I really need to do this because if Chris okays it, then I'm on to something. And within a week, stealth mode, because I couldn't tag Lee because I wanted it to be a surprise. I wanted him to think that I was just interviewing him like everybody else was at the time. But I'd already interviewed him with Tim, so I didn't want to interview him again. And he had an interview on, Man Up to Cancer podcast. So I was like, I'm going to just ask him a few questions that I want to ask him. And then after that, the rest of the show is just people coming on like you, Paula, and saying how much they love him. And it was a total act of love. I mean, when I made that commitment at Podfest, I didn't even have a freaking logo.
But you see how things work. Once you already give a timeline or say it to people where you know they're going to hold you accountable, you get into the action mode, because now you're like, okay, there are people who are going to hold me accountable, people who I admire, and people who want to make proud, and I don't want to let them down. So now there's that need. That's why we always say, if you really want to get something done or to achieve something, tell the
Yeah.
people who are going to hold you accountable, because that's how you're going to get it done.
Yeah. But
But
it
if
was
you keep it
also
alone inside, nobody knows what you have planned. So even if the day comes and you didn't do shit, nobody's expecting it. So there's no shame or anything of not achieving.
right. And the funny thing is, like, remember you and I were talking, and I was like, when you sit around waiting for the perfect time, you'll never be
There's no
ready.
perfect time, yeah. Because there's no, first of all, perfect time. Because
But when the perfect time
imagine
does come, sorry, go ahead.
I am a firm believer that you create the perfect time, even the perfect moment. Because imagine if you were waiting for the perfect time and you were still doing this shit, we lost sleep on Wednesday. Okay, we don't know if that would have happened or not, but now you'd be sitting here like, damn, now he's not gonna see me do this thing.
That's
Now he's
why I'm
not
so
gonna he's not gonna, but you literally gave him a celebration of life. He got to sit there and watch us pour into him. Like when I tell you, one of the most amazing, emotionally beautiful launch I've witnessed is yours. Because not only the people were able to come on the stage, but did you see that chat? Like
I,
even the
I
chat,
couldn't
people
keep up.
were shout out to Nancy and Brian and people on the chat
Everyone,
cheering
Amanda.
on you. And it was such, you gave us, because you remember I was like, oh man, and I had Liz's number and I had it in my head to check up on him, but I hadn't done it because we literally thought there was still time. Like we knew it was
Yeah,
coming, but we just didn't think it was gonna come
is
this
that
soon.
true?
But
Yeah,
but but in my head, I'm still like, but Paula, you got to tell him everything you needed to tell him, and he had it. He saw you. And I keep on replaying that part as soon as I came on the stage and was like, Paula! And that, like, it just is in my head, like, in a sweet but painful way. Like, it's so
yeah.
nice to watch, but it's also so painful to fucking watch. But to know that he was so excited to see me and to allow me to pour on him, you gave us that. So now your launch day means even more because of the aftermath of what happened.
I'm still being tagged in posts, and I can't keep up. And people are
Speaking of
outpouring.
that, you need to go to Instagram and approve my invitation to collaborate because I did post something.
Okay, I'm not on Insta much. I need to be better about that. Thank you for calling me out on that.
Oh,
You
one thing I'm gonna do is call you out, girl, because I am just all about calling people out on their bullshit. No, I'm just.
But I'm grateful that my launch was the way that it was, because if I had just interviewed him years before, it wouldn't have been the same as what last Friday was. It wouldn't have been as special. And
We literally got to say bye to this man without knowing we were saying bye.
see you later. It's a see you later. To see you later. We're gonna see him later. We're gonna be greeted by his smile. He promised
I,
me.
I don't know, man. By the way my life is going, I might be going to a different side of the world, because
Nah, my girl, you're too good of a person. God's not gonna send you to hell for a few fucks and shit. I'm sorry. Because then you and I are gonna be down there together. We're gonna be like fanning ourselves like, man, it's hot. I'll
my
be there
ex
with you.
my ex yesterday just told me I was going to hell, so I'm like, okay, guess I'm going to hell then.
Well, you know what? I'm glad he's your effing ex, because anybody who's gonna tell you that is damn wrong, because you have one of the biggest hearts in such a small body I've ever seen. And you have so much energy, and you're like, I never knew that you were so, like, I always forget how tiny you are. And then you hug me and I'm like, wait, I'm tiny. And she's like in my boobs. And I'm like, what?
Larry calls me the Tasmanian devil. You're like the Tasmanian devil. So much
Are
energy in this tiny ass body of yours. I'm like,
so you know what
I,
Jamaicans say?
I just don't. But here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
Podfest just gives me a different energy because I do not have the Podfest energy that I bring. I do not have it in real life. Like I do have energy, but not the Podfest energy 24/7. So I don't know if it's just the excitement of being around people who just pour onto you that
Right.
just makes it. Because I don't know how I survived 4 fucking days being on top of that energy. Like, and the thing is, even when I'm running a little bit low on battery and I need to go recharge, people come to me and they're like, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Did something happen?" I'm like, "No, I'm just tired. Like, can't I be tired? Like, what the fuck?" Like,
it's funny, Paula, because like I'm the same way where I'm this huge extrovert when I'm at Podfest. Once I get there, I have that social anxiety before. But like in real life, I'm just like this cool, chill, just girl, just chilling. Like I don't even like to go out. I stay at home and I
Me
watch
too.
Netflix with
I
my
don't
two
like
dogs.
people that much, even though I'm
Yeah,
extrovert. But I like creative people. I like podcast people. But in my real life, I don't like people that much. Even though I used to be the outdoorsy, always out, always wanting people around.
right.
But since COVID and since learning to be by myself and work on myself and creating this business, I don't like people anymore like that. I'm like, please leave me alone,
People suck for the most.
respectfully.
Yeah, people suck for the most part. I mean, you saw my
And
air flight back from Nashville. You know, people suck.
yes, and that's why I only entertain podcast people. Like literally, my phone lately, the people I talk to are mostly people from podcast.
Because
Especially
it's
you
an
and Amanda.
awesome
You,
community.
Amanda, and Nancy, I need to start charging you therapy money because y'all be blowing up my phone every hour, every fucking time, man.
Who? Me and Russo?
You, Russo, and Nancy.
we need to
Russo,
be.
Russo be sending voicemails throughout the day, but it's funny, right? I'm so used to getting like 5, 6, and there'll be 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute voicemail. But then on a day when it's so quiet, like if the whole day I haven't even received the message, I'll be like, "Bitch, are you okay?" Because now I'm feeling like, why ain't I received even one voice note today? Like, what's going on?
So so Amanda Russo made me cry 4 times yesterday. And
And
one of
she's
the
having
times,
a bad day today, so.
yeah, I've
Mm.
been sending her voice messages. So the funny thing is yesterday I'm at the nail salon and she sends me a message and I'm crying. And then this is what happened. Do you see my ring fingers? That's the
Yes.
We Have Cancer podcast logo for Lee.
Ah, oh,
Isn't that sweet?
nice. It
So
is
that's
very.
so I also want to tell you because I announced it last night, but I have decided to dedicate my entire YouTube slash live stream Blue Couch Chat in Lee's honor. So there will be a picture of him and in honor of Lee Silverstein at the beginning of every episode.
I'm so proud of you, and you'll be so happy you keeping his legacy going, as that's what you
Lee,
wanted. So we have 7 minutes, and we need to wrap this up. So before we go, let the people know what Blue Coach Chat is about, and where they can find you.
okay, so Blue Couch Chat, the idea of the name, kind of like Red Table Talk, so it's easier to remember for our community, right? But blue is my favorite color. It's also the color.
But sorry. Just to be that girl, Red Table Talk has a red table and blue card chat. I need you. I need to see a blue coach, okay? Because
So
you're misleading me, okay? I will
no,
sue for
no,
this
no.
misleading.
I I have I have the blue couch. I had my entire set up, and then my bedroom flooded in November, and I had to move everything out of my bedroom into what's my studio. So now that became storage. So I have my couch. I've had my couch for 3 years, Paula. I've had my couch for 3 years.
Okay, go ahead. I just wanted to make sure that we don't want what is it called? Misleading, brand misleading, like.
No, so I have my blue couch. It's a nice blue velvet couch with blue, like gold legs. Because I'm doing blue, gold, and green. Very luxurious. But blue is the color for colon cancer. It's also my favorite color. Couch is where you invite someone to feel comfortable. Also, when you're you're speaking to your therapist, you tend to lay on their couch for that very reason. It's a safe place. And then the chat is like what we had tonight, Paula, an unscripted, just authentic and transparent and vulnerable conversation that just goes. And that's the whole concept of Blue Couch Chat. I am at Blue Couch Chat on Facebook, Insta, X, which is still Twitter, and of course on YouTube, Blue Couch Chat. I am Shannon Lee on Facebook, Insta, and yeah. So you can find me. You can also search me by Shannon Lee Sin on Facebook. I also stream as Blue Couch Chat on my personal LinkedIn as Shannon Lee Sin and as Blue Couch Chat on LinkedIn too. So basically, if you're looking for me, you can find me. I'm easy to find.
And when do you stream?
I stream every Friday evening at around 6 o'clock.
You're supposed to say that. How else are people gonna come see your shit, girl? I need
And
to
I'll
teach you
also
how to
have the
sell your
replay.
shit properly.
Hey, excuse me.
We were supposed to take a shot for Lee.
Well, I have my Red Bull. I don't have my rum, but I do have Blue Couch Chat stuff. So see, I'm official.
Thank you. You're official. I like your match. I'm proud of you. But when we were planning this, you're the one who told me we need to take a shot. So I don't know why you don't have your rum. Like I don't
Okay,
get
well, we can do this. This works.
it doesn't. What's the point? The whole point
You
is
want me to go get my rum? I'm gonna go get my rum.
yes, quick. We have 3 minutes left.
I have it ready. Wait.
Oh my
wait.
God. These people. You know, you can't bring African Jamaican Islanders in this shit and they don't just make shit happen.
Hold on, because I went to 3 different liquor stores to find a special rum from Jamaica that is pretty rare. And because, when you give a shot to Lee, it has to be something special. So this is Appleton. It's 12 years. It's a rare cask. It is freaking amazing. And I'm sorry.
Having Bombay Sapphire.
That's a baby ass shot you're doing, girl. That's not a Jamaican shot. So hold up.
Yeah, because I've been drinking. Okay, I'm not trying to black out it. Okay, well, I feel like that's your first drink, so you're allowed to have that. But if you watched my live earlier, so Tuli, thank you for bringing us together. And as they say, legends never die. Your legacy will fucking live on
forever and ever and beyond. Tuli, love you, Ponds of friendship.
All right.
That is some smooth shit. I love this so much. Woo!
Not Bombay Sapphire. Bombay ain't smooth for shit.
You need to get some of this. I'll bring you some.
Yeah, cause I messaged today Chris and he did tell me like, yeah, the reason there's gonna be a service in Atlanta is because Leah's family in Atlanta. So I can't wait to hear that once they announce the dates. That means I can have you. And Amanda says she'll also be coming. She's like, "Is there room for me in your place as well?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, there's room for you, Amanda." She's like, "I can even sleep on the floor. I don't mind." I'm like, "We'll sleep on the floor together." Because I don't mind either. I grew up in Africa. Like and sometimes I even sleep on the floor, even though there's nobody on my bed for my back. Like I do just for fun. My roommate would always come in the room and be like, "Why are you on the floor?" I'm like, "My back needs a very." So before we leave, go ahead.
Now, I was saying the first night I moved into my apartment, I was too lazy to bring all my furniture in. So I literally slept on a sheet on the floor. And it was the best sleep ever because it was my first apartment, like by myself. And it felt so effing good.
You wake up feeling like your entire body is, I think it's something about it being on the floor and just straight, like, because the bed be, but we have 1 minute before we go. Leave an advice for those people scared to go get tested.
The prevention is always better than the cure. And the great thing about colon cancer, it's the one cancer that is actually preventable by doing screening, which is the colonoscopy. I am going to say do the colonoscopy. That's the only way to prevent this cancer before it develops and to actually find it and possibly cut it out if it's an early stage, or at least you're diagnosed, you catch it early, and then you can do the surgery and whatever, but hopefully they'll catch it early. But if you do your colonoscopy when you're supposed to, hopefully you should be fine. So just do it. Healthcare is self-care.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Shannon, for advocating, motivating, educating, informing, inspiring, and giving hope to people out there. For everybody who's watching, who watched on live, thank you for watching. For those who are going to tune on replay, thank you. Go out and check out Blue Coach Live. She'll be having incredible conversations and you can learn a lot of shit. Until next time on Shit Happens. Don't leave, Shannon.